Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and we are back with another episode of the Golden Age. This is a series of weekly Warhammer Fantasy battle reports, and this is battle report number 81 of our Warhammer Roulette battle report campaign series. And this one's a 2,000 point battle that was fought between King Khalifa as well as myself. King Khalifa is bringing the Schwarzwald Free Companies of the Empire, and I'm playing the Esoteric Order of the Thousand Sons of the Chaos Legion of Tzeentch. Now, in case you're unaware how Warhammer Roulette works, pretty much what ends up happening is that we roll 3 random values. We roll a d6 to figure out which army that I will be playing. I then roll a d6 to figure out which opponent I will be playing against. And then we roll one more d6 to figure out what point value this is coming up as. So this time around, I'm being Chaos Legion of Tzeentch. I'm fighting against the Empire, and it's at 2,000 points. So that being said, we'll play some background music real quick. If you want to see exactly what we're bringing for this one, go ahead and pause. You can look at your own leisure as you look at the army list. Also, if you want to, you can also look in the description box below. I also got the army list written down there as well. So with that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad. Why we fought, or why we died. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Balor pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then the hell with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
So the scenario rules for this one is Battle Line. It's the most typical game of Warhammer out there with standard deployment rules as well as standard victory conditions. So with that being said, let's go and talk about the battle plan real quick. So as you can see over here, that shows the entirety of the battlefield. We're playing on a 4x6 table. I am deployed on the near side of the table with my Chaos Legion of Tzeentch, and my opponent King Khalifa is deployed on the far side of the table as well. So you see, we're playing at 2,000 points. The armies are quite small in this one, and pretty much my plan is on this one is to engage my opponent's flanks and hopefully take out his steam tanks. The only thing I'm really worried about in this army list is that he's packing 2 steam tanks in this list, so I'm going to try to focus most of my energy on those guys. First of all, I'm going to plan on using some of my Lore of Metal spells that I got from my General Skra'kalichaust. I'm going to try to concentrate that on the steam tanks, hopefully destroy those as well. At the same time, I'm going to plan on doing some toughness checks with some attacks from my Muleth Vortex Beast and hopefully take on his cavalry as well. My plan is to kind of engage in the flanks with my Screamers down the right hand side, try to engage them on the flanks, try to cut down as many guys as I possibly can with my cavalry on the left hand side as well, then finish them off in the center. And hopefully if I can destroy his steam tanks, I can leave my flanks free to operate. I won't have to really worry about it too much. And that's pretty much the plan I'm going with on this one. So with the battle plan over, let's go and talk about deployment real quick. So starting off with the Esoteric Order of the Thousand Sons, this is my left-hand flank. Over here on the left-hand side, I got 5 Chaos Knights of Tzeentch called the Second Sons. They have full command. They're equipped with ensorcelled weapons, chaos armor, as well as shields, and also packing the War Banner, giving them +1 to their combat resolution as well. And then right next to them on the right-hand side, that is the Shadow over Innsmouth. It is a Muleth Vortex Beast. And that pretty much makes up my deployment here on the left-hand flank. In the center of the battlefield, right behind that massively huge tree stump on the left-hand side, that is Skra'kalichaust, the Warden of Pathways. He is a Demon Prince as Tzeentch. He's also my general on this one. He's equipped with Chaos Armor as well as Demonic Flight. He's also got level 4 Lore of Metal is what he's packing on this one. He's packing the Sword of Striking, the Charm Shield, as well as a Dragonbane gem. He's also got a Chaos Familiar, so that way he has a +1 on his challenging attempts. He's also 1 extra spell. He's got Scale Skin for that 1-up armor save, and Soul Feeder, so that way he can heal himself with kills that he makes in close combat. And then right next to him on the right-hand side, that is the Stormlords. Is a unit of 20 Chaos Warriors of Tzeentch with full command. They're packing Marks of Tzeentch as well as halberds, Chaos Armor, as well as shields. And finally, here's a close-up of my right-hand flank. On the left-hand side in the back, that is Skesis of Dark Crystals. He's Exalted here as Tzeentch. He's my battle standard bearer. He's also got a hand weapon, Flail, Chaos Armor, and running a Discus Tzeentch. He's got the Enchanted Shield giving him 1-up armor, a Talisman of Preservation, as well as a third eye as Tzeentch. So he's got the 3-up ward, rerolling 1s, Hortense build in that character. Very, very powerful combination for a battle standard bearer. Right in front of him, there's a unit of 10 pink horrors as Tzeentch called the Tzeentch Horrors. It's full command with a level 1 Laura Tzeentch spells. They'll be using the blue fire as Tzeentch, and fire on the right hand side as the colors out of space is unit of 3 Screamers of Tzeentch. And that pretty much makes up my deployment on this one. Alright, so now we're going to the other side of the battlefield with the Schwarzwald Free Company, starting off on the left-hand flank. On the far left-hand flank, that is the Panzerwolf. It is a steam tank, and there are 2 of them in this army, so I got my work cut out for me. And also right there on the top of the little hill there on the right-hand side, that is Donner the Great Cannon. And that pretty much makes up my opponent's left-hand flank. In the center of his deployment area, on the far left-hand side, that is the Vagrant Brotherhood, is a unit of 15 Inner Circle Knights with Inner Circle upgrade. They have full command, they got full plate armor, shields, barding, as well as great weapons, and they're also packing the steel standards, so that way they can ignore barding armor penalties and reroll ones for charges as well as pursues. So very deadly and absolutely terrified of that unit of Inner Circle Knights. Right next to him on the right-hand side, that is the Black Company, is a unit of 37 Halberdiers with full command. They also got 2 units of 10 archers as detachments, and inside that unit we have most of King Khalifa's characters. First of all, we have Gregor von Königsmark. He's the Archlector, who's also a general of this army. He's packing a great weapon, heavy armor, and shield. He's got the Dawnstone as well as the Crown of Command. Also in that unit is Victor Hellsbright of the Wilds, a level 4 battle wizard from the Lore of Life. He's got a Dispel scroll, as well as the White Cloak of Ulrich. And then finally you have Dieter Moons, the Griffin Guard. He's an Empire, captain of the Empire, rather. He's got the Battle Standard Bearer upgrade. He's got a great weapon, full plate armor, as well as shield. And that makes up the center deployment here for the Schwarzwald Free Companies. And finally, on the far right-hand flank for King Khalifa is his very last of his steam tanks. That is the Panzer Baron. Just another steam tank on that one. So for those of you guys paying attention at home, my opponent's got 2 steam tanks as well as 3 cannons. So very, very terrifying prospect to face against. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, with deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both King Khalifa and I roll off for initiative to see who will go first. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1 for the Legion of Chaos. I managed to get the initiative on this one, so I get to go first, and this photo is taken after the move phase. And as you can guess, I kind of gingerly moved forward. I really didn't go all that fast. I'm not in really any hurry to engage my opponent. Like I said, I have to take out his steam tanks before I can do that, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So first of all, I do fly my Screamers as Tzeentch. The colors out of space, they go all the way to the far right-hand flanks. That way they can start sweeping down the main line if they want to. At the same time, I also march forward my Shadow Armor Innistrad, basically using him as a bait. Hopefully, if my opponent decides to charge with him, I will flee as a result of that. And hopefully, if not, if hopefully he'll be able to survive, that way I can use my Aura of Mutation ability off for him as well. At the same time, I also moved up, kind of gingerly, my second son, just moved up right behind the Shadow Armor Innsmouth, so that way they can, counter-charge anything that might be coming their way. While that's occurring, I did march up both the Stormlords as well as the Tzeentch Horrors, using them in kind of like having their flanks protected by the giant tree stump as well as the forest in the middle of the table. And then Skra'kalichaust the Dark Crystal also just kind of palled around with them to keep pace. And then I flew over Skra'kalichaust, the Warden of Pathways, behind the forest. That way he's protected from cannon fire, but at the same time within range and launched his metal spells directly into the Panzer Baron on the right-hand side. And that pretty much makes up my movement phase on this one. So here is a close-up of the Second Sons, as well as the Shadow over Innsmouth, slowly making their way along the left-hand flank to bait my opponent. Hopefully he'll try to charge with his Inner Circle Knights, fail the charge, and then be out of position that I can counter-charge with my own Chaos Knights. I mean, that's pretty much the plan I'm going with on that one. And here's a close-up of the majority of my army with the Stormlords, the Tzeentch Horrors, Skesis of Dark Crystal, as well as Skra'kalichaust, the Warden of Pathways, just kind of gingerly moving up to the middle of the battlefield, taking cover as best they can. And then finally, here's a close-up of the colors out of space, all the way in the far right-hand flank, getting ready to cause some trouble any way they can. So with the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. And luckily for me, I had a very powerful magic phase this turn. My opponent basically tried to dispel my dice, but unfortunately though, just kept on failing his dice rolls for the most part, so I was able to get a lot of spells off. First thing I was able to do, I put Simmering Doom directly onto Panzer Baron, the steam tank over there on the right-hand side. I think I managed to put, 4 wounds directly onto him, which was pretty awesome because of that 1-up armor save on that. So that part was pretty excellent as well. I also managed to cast Golden Hounds as well, so that way I took it down all the way to 8 wounds in total that I put on the steam tank, because I only got 2 more left before it's actually destroyed. So that part was all kinds of epic. And then the icing on the cake on top of that, I managed to cast off Final Transmutation directly onto the Black Company. Managed to kill 10 halberdiers when it was all said and done, as well as give everybody within 12 inches of them stupidity as they just kind of lustily look over the golden forms of their former comrades. So that part was pretty epic as well. One of the guys that ended up being killed, by the way, was his battle standard bearer, which is Dieter Moons, the Griffin Guard, and that was excellent because now my opponent does no longer have a battle standard bearer in this army, which is always a good thing. So with the magic phase over with, we skip the shooting phase because I don't shoot and we don't have anything in close combat, so we go directly to the bottom turn number 1 for the Empire. Alright, so that takes us directly to the bottom turn number 1 for the Empire, and this photo is taken after the movement phase, and as you can see, disaster strikes for my buddy King Khalifa. First thing he decides to do, of course, is that he decides to move up his forces. The first thing he does is he tries to charge forward with his Inner Circle Knights, the Vagrant Brotherhood. He declares a charge directly off onto the Shadow of Innsmouth. And of course, as a result of that, I decided to flee as a result, because I know that my Shadow of Innsmouth cannot survive an attack from those guys. So I fled. And of course, my opponent had nowhere else. He decided to declare a charge directly into the Second Sons. I decided to stand the charge and take it, but unfortunately for my buddy King Khalifa, though he failed his charge roll, he went only forward, I think 5 or 6 inches, I think at most is what he ended up doing. So because of that, puts those guys out of perfect position, which allows them to be countercharged, luckily for me. Not to mention the Shadow of Innsmouth, I think he ran back like 7 or 8 inches as well. However, because my buddy King Khalifa is not an 8 and he's really good, he decided to send out his skirmishers instead. So as you can see there, he decides to march with the Black Company as well as the Rommel's Rangers, the 2 units of 10 archers he has for detachment. He sends up 1 wave of archers to act as a speed bump between his knights as well as my knights. So if I do countercharge, I do have to go into his skirmishers, and if I'm not careful, I could get flanked by his steam tank, the Panzerbearer on the left-hand side, Panzerwolf on the left-hand side, so I gotta worry about that. At the same time, he marches up Rommel's Rangers as well as the Black Company moving forward, and starts trying to engage my forces as well. So like I said, some pretty good maneuvering as well as use of skirmishers for the most part. The disaster strikes though when he decides to activate the Panzerbearer. When he rolls his artillery dice to see if he can move forward, I forgot what he rolled, but it was definitely more than the 2 wounds he had left. He had generated 4 steam points, rolled his D3, and kaboom, it blew up and got destroyed, which is all kinds of awesome for me as far as I'm concerned, because that's 1 less steam tank and 1 less cannon I have to worry about. So here's a close-up of his left-hand flank with the Panzerwolf moving up forward, using 2 steam points to move forward, as well as using 2 steam points in order to shoot in the next turn. You can also see Donner there as well, just acting like a giant great cannon sniper, and you can see that the failed charge of this Vagrant Brotherhood. At the same time, you can also see my opponent using the expert use of skirmishers to protect his knights from being countercharged against, because King Khalifa is really good at using them. And here, of course, here's a close-up of the Shadow of Innsmouth as it's fleeing for its life, trying not to get killed at the same time. And finally, here's a close-up of his Black Company, as well as archers from Rommel's Rangers moving up, as well as the Panzerbearer blowing up as well. I think it managed to kill 3 or 4 of his halberdiers when it was all said and done. No, sorry, not 3 or 4. I'm sorry, I killed 2 of his halberdiers when it was all said and done. So once again, hooray victory for me. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. So during the magic phase, I actually had a pretty successful one. My opponent was unable to stop most of my, I was able to stop most of my opponent's spells from getting off, except for Flesh to Stone. That was the one I was not able to get off, so because of that, his halberdiers, the Black Company, now have 2 up toughness, which means now that these halberdiers are all toughness 5, which is actually a pretty terrifying prospect to go up against when you think about it. So with the magic phase over with, you go directly to the shooting phase. And the shooting phase is actually kind of brutal for the most part. First of all, my opponent decides to open fire with Rommel's Rangers directly into my Dunwich Horrors, managed to kill 3 of my pink horrors, which is really sad. At the same time, Donner also opens up with his cannon, managed to take out 3 of my Chaos Warriors, so that part was pretty sad too. However, there was some good news with the whole shooting phase though. And that bit of good news happened when my opponent decided to activate the Panzerwolf to open up with its cannon. Unfortunately for him, he rolled a misfire and suffered 3 wounds as a result of that. So that part was all kinds of epic, because the more damage the steam tanks can take, the better things off will be for me. So with the shooting phase over with, we skip combat phase because nobody's engaged in close combat, and we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Chaos Legion of Tzeentch. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Chaos Legion of Tzeentch, and as you can see in this photo, quite a bit of movement actually took place for the most part. So let's go on and talk about exactly what happened. So first of all, charges. I decided to declare some charges. The first thing I decided to do, of course, was to send in my Second Sons, but I didn't send in my Second Sons towards the Vagrant Brotherhood or into the Rommel's Rangers that were protecting him as a screen, because it's a bad idea. Instead, I sent them charging directly into the front of the Black Company. Now you might be wondering, Why would you put in the Black Company? The reason why is because if anybody's got a chance to crack those guys apart, it's my second sons. Hopefully I can tie them up for the round for the most part. That's pretty much what I'm going to try to do at the same time. Now, to protect the left-hand flank of my second sons, I then declare another charge with my Screamers as Tzeentch. My colors out of space go tearing across the skies and charge directly into the right-hand flank of the Vagrant Brotherhood. Now, traditionally speaking, being cavalry, being charged against is never a good thing for cavalry. They just don't have the numbers in order to withstand the attack. However, my opponent will be okay because I'm attacking with Screamers, which are not exactly the toughest creatures to begin with. And secondly, my opponent's also carrying great weapons on his knights, so, you know, they're always good in combat no matter what the situation is. It buys me some time to maneuver my forces around, hopefully cause some chaos to take place on the left-hand flank at the same time. Now, while that's occurring, I also charge forward with my pink horrors. They go directly into the Rommel's Rangers, who exactly stand and take the charge. And then what happens is I then charge forward to the right-hand flank of the Black Company using my Skesis of Dark Crystal, my Exalted hero. And that's why I charge forward with my knight. By having a Skesis of Dark Crystals in the flank, it causes them to be disrupted, which means that unit does not get any rank bonuses for combat resolution. So that really is going to help me out in order to defeat him in close combat with my Chaos Knights. It's kind of like a 1-2 kind of hit right there taking place. Now, while that's occurring, of course, I do manage to rally the Shadow of Innistrad. It turns 180 in order to face my opponent again. At the same time, I also march out my Stormlords as well as my Skra'kalichaust, the Warden of Pathways. I do move him closer to the main line so that way he could also start getting involved as well. He's within range to cast spells directly against the Panzerwolf, which would be awesome. And at the same time, I could either charge the front flank or maybe maneuver on the back to hit the Black Company. At the same time, my Stormlords can prevent or could countercharge against this, the Vagrant Brotherhood if they manage to get into the flank of my army. And that's pretty much what I went on for this one. So here's a close-up of my Screamers of Tzeentch going directly into the flank of the Vagrant Brotherhood, which is going to be all kinds of awesome. Hopefully I can make them fail a leadership test. I doubt it, but hopefully I can do that, so that way they're weapon skill 1. At the same time, my Screamers can cause some problems at the same time. And here's a coordinated close-up of my coordinated strike against the Black Company with my second sons in the front, Skesis Dark Crystals to the right, and hopefully I'll be able to break and overrun with my pink horse through these archers and go directly to the front of the Black Company as well. That's the hope anyways. And finally, here's a close-up of the Stormlords getting ready to move into the gap to go right behind the pink horse if they have to. Same thing with Skra'kalichaust. That way you can cast spells directly at the Panzerwolf, and you can see that my shadow over his mouth has turned around and rallied as well. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. And during the magic phase, manage to cast off and get off the Aura of Mutation ability out from the Shadow of Innistrad directly into the Vagrant Brotherhood. I managed to kill, I think, what was it, 3? No, 4. I was really lucky on this one. I managed to kill 4 Inner Circle Knights, which was all kinds of awesome. At the same time, also giving the Stupidity roll because I rolled Troll Brains on that one. So now these Inner Circle Knights are also affected by Stupidity. Now, there is a downside to that. Because they're suffering from Stupidity, they don't suffer from the Fear special rule that is caused by my colors out of space. So they don't have to really take leadership tests for that because they're just too dumb to be afraid, I guess. So that part kind of sucks. But at the same time, though, they're also affected with Stupidity, which is always a good thing. And the last of my magic phase was used to cast the boosted version of Searing Doom off directly on the Panzerwolf. Got 46 hits with 1-up metal shifting hits directly onto the Panzerwolf. Was able to atomize that guy, and then kaboom, managed to kill the very last of the steam tanks. So now all I gotta do now is mop up the rest of what they have for light infantry as well as cavalry. So with that, we skip the shooting phase. We go directly into combat. And the first thing I gotta do, of course, is enter a challenge. I am playing Warriors of Chaos. I have to use the Eye of the Gods charge. So Skesis of Dark Crystal decides to send out a challenge, and my opponent decides to answer with his general, which is Gregor von Königsmark, his Arch-Lector. So the two of us get into close combat. Unfortunately for him, though, he just flubbed all of his rolls. Well, he didn't really flub his rolls. I take that back. He did land some pretty successful blows against my character. He actually would have killed me, all things considered. But I was rolling ward saves like it was nobody's business. I managed to walk away unscathed. I then counterattacked, of course, with my Flail and managed to kill that poor guy, earning myself +1 strength as a bonus as part of my Eye of the Gods table. So that part was pretty epic. At the same time, my Disc of Tzeentch also attacked as well, managed to kill Halberdier. At the same time, over the left-hand side, of course, my second sons had to declare a challenge. I managed to issue the challenge. The sergeant for the for the Black Company also accepted the challenge as well. My Doom Knight had no problem killing that poor champion, so the sergeant is dead for the unit, earning +1 attack for him as well. And then, of course, the rest of my Chaos Knights and their horses also attacked as well. And, of course, I managed to kill 5 more members of the Black Company. The Black Company, unfortunately, were not able to launch any counterattacks against me, so because of that, not much really happened there at all. So that part was pretty epic, to say the least.
Retreat! Retreat! Let's get the hell out of here!
Needless to say, my opponent, King Khalifa, had to take a panic check to see if his guys break. He failed that break test, and he actually ran back, I think, 5 or 6 inches. However, as you can see in this photo, Skra'kalichaust, a black crystal, a dark crystal, decided to pursue. I think he rolled like an 8. So because of that, the entirety of the Black Company is chopped down as they try to escape the wrath of the Chaos Knights, as well as from my Exalted hero as well. With that being said, with that unit being destroyed, I didn't do a combat reform with the Second Sons facing on the left-hand side, so that way they can take on the skirmishers, as well as the Inner Circle Knights as well. So that part was all kinds of epic. Meanwhile, combat between Rommel's Rangers as well as my Dunwich Horrors went according to plan. I managed to kill 2 archers, they managed to kill one of my pink horrors as well. And since I charged as well as causing 2 wounds, I beat them by 2, which means the leadership drops down to leadership 5, in which case they had to take a break test.
Retreat! Retreat! Let's get the hell out of here!
Unfortunately for them, they failed a break test and they also fled, and I had also pursued with my pink horrors from the Dunwich Horror. Needless to say, I ran forward 10 inches and managed to chop down those archers down to the last man and eliminating another unit off the table, which is all kinds of good things for me, not so great for King Khalifa. Meanwhile, in the combat phase between my colors out of space as well as the Vagrant Brotherhood was not really good at all. My opponent was able to cause 2 wounds on one of my screamers, and I wasn't able to cause anything back. And the reason why is because King Khalifa was rolling armor saves like it was nobody's business. So because of that, nothing much happened from there. Technically speaking, I lost combat, but luckily for me though, I am a demon, which means that I'm unbreakable, so I don't have to worry about fling. So that part was kind of nice. And of course, the Vagrant Brotherhood did a quick combat reform real quick to face me to the right, so that way they can bear all their attacks directly against the colors out of space, which is really rough as well. And that pretty much makes up the combat phase on this one. So with that, that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Empire, and this photo is taken after the move phase. And as you can see here, the only dramatic move that took place was that he decided to send in Rommel's Rangers, the other second attachment of archers. He decided to charge those guys directly into my knights. Now he knows that's not a fight he's going to be able to win, but he's doing it to buy himself some more time, because technically speaking, he could actually cause all kinds of problems with me with that unit of Inner Circle Knights. If he manages to break through and destroy my screamers, he can then charge directly into my Second Sons, defeat those guys as well, and then of course mop up afterwards if he really wanted to. And plus I got to worry about a great cannon, so that can cause all kinds of problems for me. So, you know, pretty good moves for my buddy King Khalifa for not giving up and continuing on the fight. So here's a close-up of his move phase, or lack thereof. As you can see, for the most part, the Vagrant Brotherhood is still engaged right now with the colors out of space, and Rommel's Rangers, of course, are currently involved with the Second Sons. And I don't think those guys are long for the role, but like I said, my buddy King Khalifa is excellent at delaying actions by using skirmishers, and you should be paying attention to the way he does it, because he does an awesome job of doing so. So with the move phase over with, we skip the magic phase because there's no casters left on the Empire side, and we go directly to the shooting phase. And the shooting phase, the worst thing ends up happening. Donner the Great Cannon opens up and manages to kill my general, Skra'kalichaust, the Warden of Pathways.
Something always brings me back to you. It never takes too long. No matter what I say or do, I still feel you here till the moment I'm gone.
And there is nothing quite like Cerberus's gravity to kind of just send home that message of you being all kinds of sad. So just like that, my general gets killed, and you know, it still hurts. It still hurts. Alright, so with that being said, we go directly to the combat phase, and things do not go very well for my colors out of space. They managed to kill 2 of my screamers as Tzeentch and managed to put a floating wound on the other one as well. Luckily for me though, Tzeentch is an ascendant, so I don't worry about instability rules, but at the same time though, that was extremely painful to watch. I don't mind telling you. However, there was some good news though. My Second Sons, of course, just killed the Rommel's Rangers to the last man, so that part was kind of nice, but that pretty much makes the combat phase on this one. Alright, so with the combat phase over, we go directly to the top of turn number 3 for the Legion of Chaos, and this photo is taken after the move phase. As you can see in this photo, I decided to take revenge and just to send in everything I could. First thing I did is I charged into the flank of the Vagrant Brotherhood, my Second Son, so that part was kind of awesome. At the same time, I also sent in Skesis of Dark Crystal. He goes directly to the right-hand flank of the unit as well, so that way my Exalted hero, 1 Screamer, as well as my Second Son Chaos Knights are currently engaged with the Vagrant Brotherhood. I then, of course, march up the Shadow of Innistrad, so that way it can get in close range to let loose its Aura of Madness mutation ability, and at the same time also march up my Stormlords, so that way they can kind of get to the front as well, because I have a sneaky suspicion that my colors out of Space Screamer isn't going to make it. And then, of course, I do a quick swift reform with my Pink Hordes over the left-hand side to lend in some support. And that pretty much makes up my movement phase on this one. So here's a close-up of the movement phase with my pincer attack. I got Skesis of Dark Crystals on the top there, hitting him on the left-hand flank, while the right-hand flank's being attacked by the Second Sons. And my Screamer, let's face it, he's not going to probably survive this one, but that's okay though, because then my Stormlords can move in and finish them off. So with the movement phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase.
Klaatu, Marata.
And as you can see from the 2d6, they're located right smack down in the middle of the table. When I rolled for my magic phase, I rolled Snake Eyes. So pretty much ends my magic phase, and now I can't use any magic whatsoever. So with the magic phase over with, we go directly to the combat phase because I don't shoot in this army, and as you can see in this photo, it ended up being a complete bloodbath from my opponent. My opponent was able to kill one of my Chaos Knights for the Second Son, so that part was kind of sad. However, my Second Sons were able to kill 3 of his Knights from the Inner Circle. At the same time, Skesis of Dark Crystal was able to kill 2 Knights from his Inner Circle Knights as well, and of course their attacks failed to win anything else, so that part was pretty epic. Needless to say, my opponent had to take a break test, which he lost of course, but he decided just to kind of call the game at this point and not move the miniatures because the game is pretty much over at this point. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, the Strix directly at the end of the game with a victory for the Chaos Legion of Tzeentch. So the Esoteric Order of the Thousand Sons bring home another victory as they destroy the Empire as well. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go directly to the after action report because this game is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Alright, now it's time for the after action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the after action report for the Golden Age Warhammer Fantasy Board Battle Report number 81, and this one ended up being a victory for yours truly. In the end, I was able to score 2,279 victory points, while King Khalifa was only able to score 630. So for King Khalifa's losses, he lost Gregor von Königsmark, Victor Hellsbrad of the Wilds, Captain Dieter Moons, the Griffin Guard, the Black Company, the Vagrant Brotherhood, the Panzer Baron, as well as the Panzerwolf. Basically, he lost everything. For my losses, I lost Skra'kalichaust and Ward of Pathways, and that was the only thing I was able to lose on this one. And the reason why I won this battle is for one simple reason: bad dice roll for those steam tanks is what ended up winning the battle for me. Both of those steam tanks will forever haunt my dreams, and they were the only thing I was really worried about when I faced against this list. I was really lucky on this one, being able to destroy his steam tanks with magic missiles and direct damage spells from the lore of metal, and that just reconfirms the idea that I will always take that lore with me no matter what army I'm playing when I'm playing Chaos armies anyways, especially against Empire. Those steam tanks, if they would have survived, they could have totally shifted the battle in a totally different direction. By getting rid of them, I was able to concentrate on his very squishy core choices and take out his army one pit at a time, which is really, really nice as well. Now, losing Skra'kalichaust, that really did hurt. I totally forgot that he had a third cannon sitting back down that hill because it's kind of blending in with the background, so that one totally caught me by surprise. Not to mention, I failed that 2-up ward save from the Charm Shield, so that part was pretty sad as well. And I just realized how powerful a Chaos Legion of Tzeentch really is in this battle report, especially if you use movement shenanigans in order to use them effectively against your opponents. Units from the Tzeentch army list are extremely fast, so if I can engage my opponent on the flank and the rear of their units, I can disrupt them, and that allows my other forces a fighting chance because Chaos units are pretty small in most cases, so I'm not really going to get that static combat res from having huge unit sizes as well. A perfect example of this was the Black Company. I managed to take away their rank bonuses, and they were totally mitigated by Skesis of Dark Crystals. Just that one hero on the flank disrupted the entire unit, which allowed my 5 knights to just destroy that unit to run it down, so that part was really cool as well. Either way, this was an extremely fun game against an awesome opponent, and as always, I'm looking forward to another rematch with my buddy King Khalifa. So that's going to do it for this week, guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. You guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related on this channel. That's going to do it for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out and stay classy.